Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Hrabe, the president and CEO of VRC Metal Systems, a provider of high-pressure cold spray systems and process development. Welcome to the show, Rob.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Rob, you grew your company's revenue from $842,000 in 2014 to $7.3 million in 2017, a 766% increase, and in 2018, he hit around $16.8 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Sure. We specialize in high pressure cold spray equipment. It's a metalworking technology that's relatively new to the market. Basically, you're taking a metal powder, you accelerate it with a carrier gas through a supersonic nozzle and accelerate the particles to Mach 2 to Mach 3. So the particles are going the speed of a rifle bullet. So if you think of shooting a rifle bullet into a thick metal plate, it's going to basically embed and weld itself in there. So it does that without melting. So essentially you're cold welding. You're forcing the material together with kinetic energy. So the upshot is you can repair a lot of things that you couldn't otherwise repair. So this technology is really hot in the aerospace market in terms of repairing castings, aircraft skin panels, things like that, very high value components. Where we differ from the competition is our system is portable and it can be used handheld. So we're the only high pressure system on the market that has a handheld capability. So we can go out into the field, repair something, repair corrosion or wear that other systems can't do. Our company also does a lot of developmental work in terms of we offer a turnkey solution. Instead of just selling the equipment, we sell the automation, if a soundproof booth is needed, dust collectors, robots. We offer a turnkey solution in this space, and our competitors primarily just sell the equipment.
Now, can you give me an idea as to the size of the portable unit, the handheld unit?
Well, actually, our current unit is about the size of your standard desk, only it's a little bit taller. But we have two new units that are coming out on the market this spring, and one of them is small enough to fit down the hatch of a submarine. So a 23-inch manway comes in 3 components, and they fit down the hatch of a submarine.
Cool.
And then we have one that's slightly bigger that's ruggedized for use on shipyards as well.
And when these things are in operation, is it like using a regular welding type device, or is it totally different?
It's kind of like using a welding device. It's kind of like almost using like spray paint, only you're spraying metal onto the substrate. So you're actually welding the metal on, but it goes on almost like spray paint. So you're spraying back and forth about the speed that you would a high pressure spray paint gun.
And is the strength of the weld comparable to a traditional hot welding type application?
Yeah, it's comparable. You actually get stronger in terms of the tensile strength and the overall strength of the material. You do have a bond line, and you can develop your process to get either stronger or weaker bond, depending on how you do it. Bond strengths are typically 10,000 pounds up to 30,000 pounds. So pretty strong bond, a lot stronger than other thermal spray processes. And you don't get melting and recrystallization like you do with regular welds. So you don't have the heat input and the distortion that you would have with a regular weld.
Right. And is it messier? Like, will there be metal spray particles everywhere as I'm using your tool?
it's actually a green process. So you spray it with helium or nitrogen, which are inert gases. You have about a 10% overspray of the powder. So about 10% of the powder is collected as fugitive dust. But it's not, you don't have toxic fumes like you do with regular weld.
Mm-hmm. And the powder is not necessarily toxic either.
No, not necessarily toxic. Depends on what you're spraying. You can spray most metals, particularly anything below Rockwell 60 in hardness. So your softer metals, you can do Inconel and steel and those different materials, but generally those are non-toxic.
Right. And I assume your process wouldn't be useful for the oil rigs that are out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, because it doesn't work underwater.
Actually, we think it will. We haven't tested that, but because it's high pressure, so you're spraying this metal on at 1,000 psi. So we think that the process will actually work underwater because you're using such high pressure.
Very cool.
So we're looking to do some development work on that and try it out on some offshore oil platforms.
Yeah. Now, because there's no heat involved, but on the other hand, there's a lot of pressure. Is this way of doing welding safer or more dangerous than the traditional method?
In general, it's safer. There is some heat involved, so you do heat the gas to up to 80% of the melting point, so just below where it somewhat softens the material but doesn't melt it. So you can get, it does get hot, so there is some hazard there, but it doesn't get near as hot as regular welding, so it's a little bit less hazardous.
Mm-hmm. And I take it from a eyesight perspective, there's no need to wear those ultra dark eye shields when using your product?
Well, yeah, you would typically use a dust mask and a face shield, and the only reason for that really is if the high pressure were to blow, say, a little rock or something, a piece of debris from the surrounding area, bounced up and hit you in the face or something. That's really the only reason to wear a mask.
Yeah, that would hurt too. And can a trained traditional welder, can they pick up your product just like that and get rolling?
Well, it does take some specialized training, so they have to be trained in the process itself. So there's not enough crossover between traditional welding to this that someone could just pick it up immediately. It's a lot like welding, though, in the sense that I can teach you to weld in one day. But to teach you to be a certified welder that can weld upside down and a fillet weld and so on and so forth, might take you a year or so before you get enough practice that you're really, a certified aerospace welder, for example.
Right. Got it. Now, you said before that that some of what you provide, you're like the exclusive provider. What are those things again that you do exclusively that no one else does?
So our forte is the high pressure portable system. So our system is both portable, high pressure, and has a handheld or robotic capability. So it's the only system out there that has all those features. So it's on a cart type system, so you can roll it around on a shop floor, or you can roll it out onto a flight line to repair something. And it's portable in the sense, or modular in the sense that you can actually take the gun down into, say, the inside of a submarine and repair something in a really tight to reach spot.
Right.
And so the gun is made so that you can either hand hold it, or you can mount it to a robot arm and use it robotically. The heater isn't integrated into the gun like competitor systems, so it's lightweight. It's about 5 pounds, so it's not difficult to handle.
Right. Now, do you have patents that give you some exclusivity on the technology, or this cold spray technology is available to others as well?
The cold spray technology itself is available to others. Our patent is on the portable aspect of ours, so the separation of the heater from the gun. That's what makes our system unique. That's patented. We also have some process patents on applications such as aircraft skin panels and hydraulic tubing and things like that we've got some process patents on, as well as some patents on some of our automation products where we provide, like a fully automated type system that'll do, take apart, pre-machine it, cold spray it, post-machine it, do the NDI, everything all in one system.
Right. Now, your business grew from 842,000 in 2014 all the way up to 16.8 million in 2018. What were the 3 biggest drivers of your growth during that period? It's pretty chunky, right? You almost what is it, 5 times, 4 times? Yeah. Yeah, you grew your business quite rapidly here. So over 10 times, 20 times your business over the span of 4 years.
Yeah, so the biggest driver was aerospace and defense, which has been our focus almost the whole time. My background is I'm a retired military, so I was a retired B-1 pilot. I was in engineering for 6.5 years before that, so I had kind of a background in military operations and maintenance and so forth. So that's where we put a lot of our focus. A lot of the components in the military space are very expensive. So the return on investment is pretty much a slam dunk for this technology. One example is we had an aircraft skin panel that was had a like a 2-year lead time and cost $225,000, and we were able to repair it in 2 weeks for around $2,500. So you just got a really good return on investment. So that's where that was probably the biggest cost driver or biggest sales driver. Also, getting out into a lot of heavy industry, nuclear power, oil and gas, those kind of things have generated quite a bit of revenue. And then R&D. So it's still a relatively new process. People are still developing different material substrate combinations, because you can weld, since you're not melting the materials, I can weld copper onto aluminum. I can weld aluminum onto steel. I can, weld titanium onto aluminum. I can weld different materials together like that you couldn't do before. So that opens up a whole area of research and development for people who are looking to develop lightweight, or maybe a lightweight material that has a hard surface on it or something like that.
Right.
So the R&D side has been probably the other biggest driver of the growth.
Okay. So the 3 drivers: one, you develop your business in the aerospace and defense market, so that worked out really well. It was a right place, right time, right sector. Then you also moved into heavy industries, nuclear power, oil and gas, and also found success there. And then lastly, you continue to research and develop your product, refine the product. You talked about separating the heater from the gun, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So those would be the 3 drivers. Yep. Okay. Now, you said before you were a retired B-1 pilot. So when you're on the ground, you do a lot of operational maintenance work or oversaw it. That's how you have some expertise that led you to where you are today at VRC.
Well, as a pilot, I was always the one that complained about something not working right.
Okay.
So I really got back into the maintenance business after towards the end of my career, and when I was retiring, looking at the cost of maintenance and some of the aging weapon systems out there that have been in service for a lot longer than they were originally designed for. So they have a lot of maintenance needs that weren't anticipated when the systems were designed. So we found that as a pretty ripe opportunity. And the timing was right because, of course, budgets and the cost of new weapon systems were skyrocketing. So it was really an opportunity to help the military out by saving them a lot of money on maintenance, while at the same time developing a new technology that was heretofore not common.
Right. So do you see yourself as a vendor to the military?
Yeah, we are. We do a lot of military contracting. The Navy, U.S. Navy, has really come on board with this technology. As you can imagine, this is a great solution for corrosion, and the Navy has lots of corrosion. In fact, they spend billions of dollars on corrosion repair and maintenance. So this is a perfect fit for a lot of the problems that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So it's really been a kind of a marriage made in heaven, because they have these problems that just ongoing, very difficult to solve, and this is just one way to get it done.
Right. So you founded the company in 2013, and how did you start the company? You saw the technology, you saw the cold spray technology, and right away you saw applications that you could use it within the military from what you saw in your own experience. Is that how your company got started?
Yeah, more or less. I was active duty military at the time, and actually I was stationed at Ellsworth Air Force Base flying B-1s, and the base was actually slated to close. And out of that, they ended up getting taken off of the closure list, but as part of the process, they started looking at putting an aging aircraft facility out on the base proper, on Ellsworth Air Force Base, and to add additional missions out there. And they were using the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology, which is a local university. All they have is engineering. That's all they do. They don't do humanities or anything else. It's just all engineers. And their forte really is metallurgy, metalworking, processes, process development, those kind of things. And so they were doing this study. They needed me because I could speak in the engineering language, and I knew kind of what the problems were, at least on the B-1 and in the military in general. So we worked together on that study, and what I learned was that there's this market there, a kind of niche market for people like me that can speak the engineering language. I can talk to the guy that's an inch wide and a mile deep in one technology, but I'm also experienced in the ways of the world and how maintenance works, how operations works, those kind of things that you need to really commercialize a technology. So I found that perfect spot for me was to take these bright people that work in these labs and try to transition those technologies out of the lab into the commercial space.
So while you're still on active duty, you started working with the local university, and they were investigating, playing around with cold spray, and that's how you kind of put everything together?
Yep, that's exactly right. And we were actually had three technologies at the time: friction stir welding, laser deposition, and cold spray. But friction stir welding and cold spray got big enough that we actually split those off into separate companies, and I took the cold spray piece.
Mm-hmm. And when you started the company, the first year, only $842,000. What was the story way back then in terms of getting your first sale?
Well, most of our revenue that first year was all R&D work. We were the Army at that point had already developed a engineering model of a handheld portable system, but they didn't have any way to produce it or develop it into a commercial product. They let us borrow it to try to see if we could put some controls on it and those kind of things. And during that process, we found we developed some patented aspects of it, and that's when we decided that this is really something that we should try to commercialize. And so we went through probably the first couple of years, 3 or 4 different prototype units that we took it, we tested, and we did all kinds of work with them. And then eventually developed it into something that was a commercial product.
Right. When did you start? When were you able to start selling it and really grow your business rapidly?
Probably our first kind of commercial unit was probably 2013, 2014 timeframe.
Okay.
And then 1 or 2 per year there, and then we've gotten up to where we're selling 10 to 12 per year.
How much is your business from military contracts, and how much is it from non-military?
We're about 60-40, 60% military, 40% non-military. We may be a little bit higher than that this coming year in 2019 because the Navy is really coming on board strong this year. So we may be 70% military in 2019. We hope that the commercial market, though, is going to grow a lot faster overall, so that at some point we'll probably be more the other way, 80% commercial and 20% military. But that's probably at least 2, maybe 3 years down the road.
Right. And what happened between 2017 to 2018 when you more than doubled your business from 7.3 million in 2017 to 16.8 million in 2018?
Well, we had several big projects. We started getting out in the commercial market. The Army Research Lab, a guy named Vic Champagne, was really doing some great work in terms of the development of the technology and actually getting the word out that this technology is now kind of coming into prime time. So people started hearing about it. So you started getting a lot more interest. We were able to win several big military contracts called Rapid Innovation Funds because they could see the potential for large cost savings. We got a lot of help from our congressional delegation here in South Dakota. That was one of the benefits of South Dakota is it's a small state, so you can get to know your senators and your congressmen, and they can help you push these kind of technologies.
Now, you said before that you're selling roughly 10 to 12 units, and just keeping really simple math, say you sold 10 units last year, 2018. Does that mean that your systems are generally 1 to 2 million a piece?
Well, the base system is closer to 300,000, but as I mentioned earlier, one of the differences between us and our competitors is that we will offer a turnkey solution. So we do more than just cold spray. We'll do the automation, we'll do the robotics, we'll do the shielded enclosure, the soundproof booth, we'll do the dust collection, the whole 9 yards. So that'll take a system the cold spray part might cost you 300,000, but the total solution might be between 700,000 and 1.2 million, depending on what all you want. We also offer a helium recovery system, which helium, you get better properties with cold spray using helium because the speed of sound is faster, so you get higher particle velocity. But helium's expensive, so we developed a helium recovery system, which will recover 85 to 95% of the helium, so you can recycle it. So that really saves you a lot of money. But that system itself is about 700,000 by itself. So that can push a sale to $1 million, $1.5 million, depending on what all the customer wants.
Yep. Now, when you put together these turnkey systems, how big is everything? How much square footage does it take to do what you described, the automation, the robotics, enclosures, soundproof booths, helium recovery?
Yeah, most shops are everything can be incorporated in about 2,000 to 3,000 square feet for a full setup with helium recovery and everything.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these shops are bigger than that. Now, if you just do a booth with an external dust collector, it can be as small as a 10 by 10 booth.
Right.
It can be, you can use up 300 square feet of your shop space.
Right. And so you build the equipment at your home office, and then you and your team go to the client site and put it all together for them.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And we'll do on-site support too. So if they need on-site training, they might need even their process developed, like for their particular product line. They might be looking to develop some materials or other things, and we'll do that for them as well.
And is there like a recurring element, like will your systems only run on your metal powder, so they need to continue buying your metal powder forever while they use it?
Well, one of the benefits of our system is that it does operate on commercially available powder. However, we do offer certain powders that are specially processed to provide a certain quality. So if they're looking for quality control in their powder, or they're looking for certain properties, like say you're looking for a certain tensile strength or certain ductility, or maybe we have a powder. One of the interesting things about cold spray is that you can mix powders, and they spray almost like an alloy powder. So we have like a chrome carbide nickel chrome mix that mimics hard chrome. So rather than taking a chrome part that's damaged and completely stripping it down and replating it, which causes a lot of hazardous waste and those kind of things, you can just repair the damaged part just by spraying on this chrome carbide nickel chrome material. And so we'll sell that mix of powder as a bagged powder, so that somebody can just dump it in their powder feeder and spray it.
Now the powder, the metal powder, how fine is it? Is it like powdered sugar, that fine, or even finer than that?
Actually finer than that. It's more like baby powder type. It's 5 to 50 micron is the typical size. So it's about like baby powder.
And does it feel like metal?
Oh yeah, no, you can't. It's machinable, fully machinable. So once it's on, you can't really hardly tell the difference between that and the substrate if it's the same material.
Okay, but like say you had a bag of the powder sitting there, and I just pinched a bit of it. Can I tell it's made out of metal?
Probably, if you didn't know it was metal, you probably wouldn't be able to tell that.
Right. Okay.
You can taste it. Different metals taste differently.
Oh, really? What's now that's a new one for me. Tell me what's the most interesting tasting metal you've tried.
I haven't ever. I'm not actually a metallurgist. I'm a mechanical engineer.
Okay.
So, but there's actually old metallurgists who can even tell you down to the alloy by just licking a metal. They can tell you it's Inconel by licking it.
Interesting. Might make for an interesting contest one day.
Exactly.
All right, very interesting. So tell me about your plans for 2019. What are your targets and how will you get there?
So our overall strategy for 2019 is to get out into the commercial market. So we have established some relationships with market leaders. One of the interesting things about cold spray is that it has a really broad application. If you think of any, wherever there's corrosion and wear on metals, this technology has some game. So, and that can be anywhere from nuclear power to conventional power to shipping, aircraft, just a ton of different applications, but they're very, very broad based. So what we have to do is partner with companies who specialize in those particular markets and get them to develop the market. So our challenge is to get the word out into that market and develop products that are useful for, say, oil and gas or nuclear power or something like that. So you have to partner with people that are experts in those particular industries, and then help them develop the product within that industry. As I mentioned, the Navy, the military is coming on strong, so we're still having to really ramp up to support them as well.
Right. Now, is the commonality of these partners, is it all corrosion oriented, or are there other applications that make sense?
It's kind of a combination of corrosion and wear. So some of the applications are just wear applications where you have two components that are wearing against each other, and eventually one of them gets out of tolerance.
Right.
So you're just spreading on enough material to make the tolerance match. In other cases, it's just corrosion or pitting or something like that causes the part to be out of tolerance. So that's the typical two areas. Although there's getting to be quite a few industrial applications. There's even medical applications for this technology. There's copper is a natural antimicrobial, so to kill germs without having to clean surfaces, you can just spray a thin coating of copper on, and that surface will, the copper will automatically kill the germs.
Oh, interesting. So you imagine that operating room environments, they can just quickly spray copper everywhere to clean off the germs. That kind of application, that's too big.
I think what you would do is you would coat surfaces like bed rails, food trays, call buttons, anything people touch a lot, doorknobs.
Okay. And this would be like a permanent application.
Yep, permanent application, and then the germs that get on that surface would automatically be killed within like 20 minutes. So
wow, I did not know that.
So it's that's a potentially huge growth area for this technology.
Oh yeah, definitely. But that's not something that happens at the manufacturing of those parts, as opposed to someone taking your portable unit and spraying doorknobs in an existing hospital, though, right?
Well, I think you would probably do both. You'd probably have manufacturers that would use the technology to coat their product and provide a better product.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd also have cases of an existing hospital or something that just wants to coat certain things within their within their hospital. Could be a ward that is specifically geared towards infectious diseases or something.
Right.
And they want to kill everything in that ward they can with copper just to kill it.
Yeah. Or even the intensive care units, right?
Yeah. The other thing is like portable. There's, even portable medical facilities that the military uses, and things like right now there's a big Ebola virus outbreak in Africa, and they use portable medical facilities for that. And if you could coat those with copper, then you would really have an opportunity to save a lot of lives and prevent a lot of infections. One of the biggest things that military people, people that get injured in battle, a lot of times they die from the infection, not from the actual injury.
Right.
So you can prevent a lot of that with this kind of technology.
Very interesting. Now, do you ever foresee the technology or portable units ever becoming small enough and inexpensive enough to actually be a consumer product?
I think eventually they will be. Our what we call our Dragonfly product, the one I mentioned that is designed to fit down into a submarine, is about half the price of the original unit. So I think eventually we'll get down to half again the price, and then I think it'll be within the realm of a consumer product. And I think eventually we'll get we'll maybe come up with some ways to come up with temporary repair capabilities that use the cold spray technology.
Yeah, I mean, I can see a lot of applications, right? Kids' toys fall apart, and you can fix it really quick. If I was a new parent and I'm afraid of germs, I can spray all the metal surfaces with copper in my home, right?
Exactly.
I could see some applications there. And I think you can do some, even on the art side, I think you can do some interesting art with your device as well. So, I mean, definitely.
Yeah, especially using different metals, you can really create some pretty artwork with using different types of metal to create a contrast and so forth.
Yeah, and even just putting pieces together that are normally difficult to put together, right? And you have this tool that can do it. So a lot of interesting applications for the future for this. Very cool. So how are you going about finding your partners, the ones that specialize in pitting, corrosion, wear within those different verticals?
Yeah, so we look out into those markets. We try to find experts within that market space that understand the market and kind of understand what the pain points are in that market, and then let them kind of bring the potential applications to us, and let them use their expertise within that market space. So the key is to find the right people and partner with the right company. So we do a lot of it is education, because people don't know about this technology. They don't know what it can do. So it takes us, we spend a lot of time just educating the potential customers or potential partners on just what the technology can do. And then we spend a lot of time, most people are from Missouri, so they want you to show them exactly, how it works, and they want to see coupons, and they want to do testing, and so a lot of times that might be a year and a half process to convince them that this is really going to work for their industry.
Right. For you to grow your business and take advantage of the opportunities that you share, that you see, what do you see is the biggest challenge, the biggest obstacle that you and your team needs to overcome?
I would say education is probably the biggest obstacle, because there's in a lot of industries a fear of the unknown or fear of something new. We've been doing welding forever. It's a known thing. I have specifications, I have standards, I have all the training I need. So why would I go to something new just to save some money?
Right.
So education is probably the biggest obstacle. I think the other probably biggest hill to climb really is scaling, because like I say, we have the only portable handheld high pressure system on the market. But if we can't scale fast enough, then I'm sure that there will be other competitors that will show up. So to maintain cutting edge of the technology and to be able to scale the company at the same time is a pretty big challenge.
Yeah. You also mentioned before, on the education side, you said it takes up a lot of time. Is it because you have to actually get in front of people to educate them? You're finding that more passive ways of doing it just isn't working with your market? They're not the kinds of people who will say, yeah, I'll watch this video and learn about cold spray. That's just not their way of learning.
Yeah, well, they'll do, but they're not necessarily going to believe everything they see. So they're going to want to actually, come see it. They're going to want to talk to you about it. They're going to want to do some coupons. They're going to want to test them, and then if it works, then they're going to want to do some prototypes and so on and so forth. So it can be, people always look at a new technology with somewhat of a, skeptical eye until you prove to them that it's going to work for their application.
Right. Now you mentioned the word or phrase coupon a couple of times. What does that mean?
So in the metalworking world, you would typically spray maybe a small block or a flat substrate, and then you would cut it up into a little dog bone and pull it apart to see how strong it is, or you try to pull the coating off to see how strong the bond is.
Okay.
So those are what we call coupons. They're just little test pieces that they use for various tests.
Ah, okay. And then you send it to them, and then they do their testing. They try to break it.
Exactly. Break it or pull it apart or splice it and look at it with a microscope and so forth.
Okay. So do your sales guy drive around with a trunk full of these things that they just hand out whenever someone wants to try it out?
Well, we have a lot of samples that we do carry around, but typically, though, the customer wants his own set. So we will oftentimes spray them a set of samples to their specifications,
right?
The way they want to test it. So we'll do all that and spray it for them, and then let them do all the testing they want to do.
Right. Yeah, I can see how that can be a pretty slow process since it requires someone on your side to get it done, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. 3 final questions for you. First one, what would the billboard for VRC Metal Systems say? A billboard, perhaps near town, for example, or maybe near your biggest customers. What would your billboard message say?
Cold spray is a repair technology that can save you thousands of dollars on repair and maintenance.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you didn't even say which you prefer, a $250,000 replacement plate or that you need to wait 12 months for, or $2,500 repair done the same day.
Yeah, I think if you just use the term cold welding, people kind of get what you're talking about.
Yeah, at least the ones that matter to you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone who doesn't understand it, they're not your market. So, okay. And who are your ideal customers, and what's the best way for them to reach you and your team?
So our ideal customers are people that have high value components or actually plants or so forth that when they are shut down for metal failures cost them a lot of money. So people that are spending a lot of money on maintenance, particularly of metal components, should be looking into the cold spray technology, and that can be, like I said, a very broad range of people. So that can be anybody from a refinery operator to someone who operates shipping people, to aircraft maintenance and overhaul people. So it's a broad range of people, but they all have the common problem of metal components that are either wearing or corroding or failing in some other way that they need a repair technology for.
Right.
They can contact us directly. You can go to our website, vrcmetalsystems.com, and get a hold of us there. There's a lot of conferences on thermal spray, and one called the Cold Spray Action Team, actually, that's on cold spray. Go to one of those conferences, and you can really get a pretty good understanding of the cold spray technology and what it can do for you.
Very cool. Now, one last question came to mind that I forgot to ask you about earlier. In terms of marketing, I took a peek at your website, and I didn't really see you using any pay-per-click advertising, nor do I see a strong SEO presence. Is it simply because your market just doesn't respond to those channels?
Yeah, so it is. We're not that much in the consumer space. We're all B2B right now, or B2G, and so we haven't had a lot of success in that market or with that strategy. I think that may change over time. More and more people are responding in those spaces, but it is hard to get down to who the metallurgy guy is within a company and who can specify this type of equipment.
Right. Yeah, I guess part of the problem is that if people don't know about cold spray, would you say people do know about it, or it's still a new technology that people don't know about it?
Yeah, it's still a relatively not well-known technology, so it's relatively unknown. So it takes a lot of education. It's not known that much out in the commercial industry, heavy industry. It's starting to get there, but it's getting to be pretty well known in the military, and we think that ultimately that's going to carry over.
Yep. Yeah, part of the thing with the pay-per-click ads, it only works if people are searching for it, right? But if you have a new product, new service that is really new and people don't know about it, they won't even think about searching for it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the case. Pretty much everybody that comes in and sees the technology for the first time, they go, "Wow, I didn't know that you could do this." And they then they lay awake at night thinking of different ways they can use
it. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of thinking about how I could use it around the house. Having something, assuming it's small, but so many times metal things break, and you wish you could just put it back together easily, right?
Right, exactly.
Instead of a can of WD-40, you have a can of cold spray. That would be ideal.
I know. And someday maybe we'll get there, but we're not quite there yet.
Yeah. Oh, when that day arrives, that's going to be fantastic. So,
yeah.
All right. It's been fantastic, Rob, having you on my show today. I really enjoyed learning how you grew your business and learning about cold spray.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity, and if anybody wants to know more about cold spray, they can look me up, and we'll be happy to tell them all about it.
Yeah, maybe you can send them some samples as well.
Absolutely.
All right. We've been speaking with Rob Hrabe, the president and CEO of VRC Metal Systems, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.